We're back again on Lutherans Alive with Pastor April Dailey of the Crooked Creek Cooperative Parish. April, as we've been talking, it's been interesting to hear a little bit about the different folks that have been involved and the progression of the development of the parish. In terms of things over the last 6 years or so, what would you say are the sort of major accomplishments or solid developments that you've seen in this group of 3 churches as they've continued down the road together?
Well, there's been continuing to be just that identity, if you will, that the congregations still see themselves as individual in their individual identity, but also see themselves as a part of this larger thing that we call the Crooked Creek Cooperative. So they perceive themselves as part of both and are functioning in that way. That most of our efforts are together in most everything we do. Again, as I said, apart from Sunday morning, most everything else is a joint effort. Most of the ministries funded through a cooperative treasury and that sort of thing. So, and that's the largest single effort of the congregations.
Prior to coming back on the air, we were also talking about the fact that while they've kind of broadened their horizons to work together as a parish, that doesn't stop there, but that they also have connections with neighboring congregations and other ministries, Lutheran and otherwise.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
One of the things that we've been doing fairly regularly for some time has been activities with the neighboring parish, especially the Elderton parish, which is fairly close geographically. There are connections across family lines and folks just being acquainted with each other. Some of the kids are going to school in the same places and so forth. So we've done some youth activities and some other activities. We've had joint worship services together and so on.
And the Elderton parish is also more than one church building working together as well.
That's right.
So you've got some common themes going there.
That's right. That's right. And they're relatively rural, both outside of town. It's the Elderton parish, but neither church is in town. So it's similar in that regard too, as well as just the interconnections of people being acquainted through a variety of community connections and family connections and so forth.
And there are some distinctive aspects to rural church life.
Right.
And again, before the program, you were relating to me that this isn't just a standalone kind of a situation, but you've also been in touch with the wider church and helping in terms of getting resources, but also in terms of giving some insight that might be useful other places as well.
I've been working with the Small Town and Rural Ministry Alliance. We have an affinity group on cooperative ministry, and we're trying to help those who are likewise trying to establish cooperative ministries. And of course, those are taking many different forms in a variety of places around the country, around the church these days. So that there was an article in the Lutheran, I believe it was in June, about parishes in these somewhat similar kind of situations, and so we're trying to do some things to make the wider church aware of, I'm sure the church is aware, but to make other people aware of these different forms of ministry, of how congregations can work together, and then, like I said, beyond just our own parish lines, but with other congregations. For example, this year, we will have another joint worship service that will involve 6 congregations that are fairly close together, and looking at doing some activities with youth and things of that sort together, seeing what other ministries, what social ministry type of efforts we might do jointly that might produce greater fruit, if you will, by it being maybe a friendly competition perhaps from one parish to the other to see who produces the most, whatever it might be that we're doing for whatever project. So a little bit of lighthearted but productive kind of competition in that regard.
Sure. For those who aren't living in an urban or in a rural context, but are living in an urban context, what are some of the unique challenges when you think about congregational life and ministry? We think about what goes on within the building, the meetings and the activities that you're talking about. But also, of course, one of the goals of the church is to have that real connection with daily life with folks. What are some of the unique challenges of rural ministry in a day and age like ours?
Some of it is simply distance, that we have not only members scattered, quite a distance, but virtually everything we do involves travel. There's nothing within a short distance, of anything. But folks there are accustomed to that. That's one advantage. I remember the first time we had a pretty good blizzard, and I thought for sure we'd have to cancel worship because no one would be there, but they're so accustomed to dealing with that. There were still about 30 people that Sunday morning, and the snow was piled high, but they were still there, and they're just accustomed to dealing with getting from place to place, regardless of circumstances, because that kind of travel is so necessary. So,
is that true also for the schools and for the shopping areas, that most things you do have to travel a bit to get to them?
Right. There's really next to nothing, close by. Looking at distances of like from where we're living, about 10 miles to town. So get used to driving a lot.
If someone asked what's on the horizon for the Crooked Creek Cooperative, or are there plans in place or hopes and dreams for the coming years, what's on the horizon?
One of the things that we've identified as a parish is the realization, like is so true everywhere, that there are people around us that are not involved in any church, and trying to make some effort to find a way to reach those people, to make whichever of the congregations is closest attractive to them. And again, too, then we're still talking about large distances when you're going out sending folks to canvass an area. You're not talking blocks, you're talking miles, just because of the way folks are scattered. But we've been looking seriously about how we can do that, maybe by utilizing folks in each congregation to go to the various areas where they are closer and pointing out, well, there's a congregation here and so forth. And that's one effort that we've been working on. It's still in process, but we've been looking at some things. And of course, there's always the informal approach to evangelism of folks just inviting, neighbors and so forth. We don't get a lot of people moving in. That's pretty rare. Once in a rare while, we had two people come to St. Michael's recently who actually moved to the area, which caused quite a bit of celebration because it is so rare.
New neighbors. Yeah.
Right. It is so rare, but it does happen once in a while. But trying to be intentional about following through with that important part of ministry of, growing in the best sense of the word.
Yes. Well, it sounds like they're growing together as well as growing in their faith and growing in their outreach to others. It's a great story to hear, and I suppose along the way, if there are other folks out there in smaller congregations who are looking for ways to continue to grow their ministries, this could certainly be a reasonable alternative for them as well.
I would say so. It's working well for us thus far.
That's terrific. Well, thank you so much, April, for taking the time to come in and to share with us the current status of the Crooked Creek Cooperative. And sometime in the future, we'll look forward to having you back again to hear an update on how things are going.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us today on Lutherans Alive. We hope you've enjoyed this opportunity to hear an update on one of the previously covered ministries, and maybe we'll give you some inspiration about how to find ways to work together with other brothers and sisters of the faith. Until next time, this is Lutherans Alive. Good day, and God bless you.